It is Tuesday, the 20th of May. Hello, everyone. This is your Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosun Omofaye. This is your a quick look at the markets for back at Monday when we started. It's the third week in the month of May, the second month in the second quarter. Today, the big story out of Nigeria, of course, would be the interest rate decision by the central bank. For the second time this way, Olayemi Cardoso Bloomberg reporting a survey by economists polled by the news agency that the central bank is expected to hold rates on sluggish inflation that came in the month of April. Since the rebasing on inflation that Nigeria did back in January, inflation has been in and out, and there's no clear direction, as it were, right now, where inflation is actually heading or sticking around the upper end of the 20s figure by the last number. So the central bank is expected to just hold on rates and see how inflation's behavior moves on toward the mid time of the year. So let's keep that in mind. The announcement by Olayemi Cardoso, the post-MPC media briefing, is expected at about 2 o'clock local time. You want to watch that live on Frontier Africa reports on our live streaming. The stock market was down slightly, just 1 basis point yesterday. The shares of PZ, Cruisons, MTA Nigeria, and a few other bellwethers moderated the gains that we saw in other parts of the segments of the market. The BRVM continued that rally by 0.25%. The Ghana market was somewhat flattish on Monday. The EGX30 was down sharply 1.13%. The EGX30 around 31,355. The Nairobi stock markets up about 0.25%, 0.24%, 134.51 on the all-share index. The GSE down by 14 basis points, led by financials, 1.30%, despite about 2.7% gain on the resources segment of the market. The rand was trading around 18.09 on the dollar, down about 0.3%. The Rwanda stock market was flattish. Uganda stock exchange, the 0.85%, the biggest for that region that will cover. And the Casablanca stock market in Morocco was 0.56% in the green, while the Egyptian market fell. Let's get on. What's the big story? East Africa, Cooperative Bank of Kenya and KCB have been listed among the Africa's fastest growing institutions. And that's good news for these two banking financial services providers on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and of course with footprints across the East African region. Cassava Technologies and Santec say they have a deal on the table to power artificial intelligence for the African continent, while Codias SA says it's launching Cameroon's first underground gold mine as part of the mining activities in Cameroon around Central Africa's Nigeria's neighbor to the east. And Diageo, the owner of Guinness, reporting third quarter, saying that East Africa posted the double-digit growth for its third quarter reporting period, led largely by Tanzania and Uganda. Uganda, under President Museveni, has launched National Destination Marketing Strategy. The idea out of the government is to ensure that tourist arrivals in Uganda also rev up like some of its neighbors, Zanzibar, Tanzania, as well as Kenya and Rwanda as well. So Uganda has that new strategy being declared open to see how to gain more tourist arrivals in the country. And finally, in that region, Ethiopia says it's relaunched $445 million plan for that tallest tower that the country wants to build. Ethiopia wants to build the tallest building in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. That will be about 96 floors, and that will cost roughly $500 million. The plan has been refloated. So let's take those conversations up into the West African region with Nigeria. The central bank, mentioned that earlier at the start of the show. The central bank in Nigeria is expected to hold rates today at previous level in January. The central bank is a little bit dovish, as it were, in terms of interest rate movement since the year started, looking to see the direction that the interest rate will play, especially with core inflation and food inflation, it's very crucial in terms of how that plays into the overall inflation for Africa's most populous economy. In the meantime, the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, says the It's going to get the migration of transaction cycle in Nigeria from T+3 to 2+2 by November. That's according to the Director General, Emomotimi Agama, speaking at the first quarter Capital Market Committee meeting held on Monday. The country's regulator for the securities market is also planning to float a new roadmap, what you call the NCM roadmap, Nigerian Capital Market Roadmap. The initial roadmap, which was floated 10 years ago, back in 2015, is expiring this year. And he says there'll be a new one, which will have a whole lot into the pack, including the new ISA 2025, which was signed into law just a couple of weeks ago. And of course, the emergence of digital asset trading in Nigeria. And still in the West African region, Kodal says he's expecting approval from the Malian authorities to export 27,000 metric tons of stockpiled lithium, a very crucial ingredient into electric vehicles, batteries. And Ghana is revving up its intra-Africa trade. It just received a shipment of oil or crude oil from Gabon, Africa's second largest oil producer and exporter. And more than $10 billion oil, gas, and renewable energy projects were showcased at the just concluded intra-Africa Invest in Africa Energy Forum held in Paris. That was sometime mid last week. Great. Okay, so Sasol is in the eyes of investors in Southern Africa as far as coal to power is concerned and how to cut emissions. The Capital Market Day for Sasol will be taking place next week. We'll report on that for you. In the meantime, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has touched down in the United States, Washington to be specific, for that very crunching meeting with President Trump, and the no love lost between the two presidents come to the fore since President Trump took office back in January. President Ramaphosa is in Washington to mend fences with one of the biggest investment country into South Africa, and that's the United States, and trade partner, by the way. Namibia and Botswana says they have a plan on the table to jointly build a refinery, a crude oil refinery, to support a local petroleum services products within the country and other services as well, and not depending on imports. The whole idea will be unveiled. Namibia is pursuing hydrocarbon very furiously. Botswana, of course, is one of Africa's leading mining economy. And Vodacom says he's looking at joint venture possibilities to expand fiber optic operations across Africa to raise the level of a broadband penetration on the continent. Namibia Port is proceeding with $4 billion Namibian dollars Luderis oil and gas supply base that will support that company's oil supply and gas supply in and out of the Namibian port. And the first meeting of the heads of competition agencies within Africa under the umbrella of the EFCFTA will be wrapped up later today in Cape Town, South Africa. The meeting is headed by Wamkele Mene, who is the Secretary General of the EFCFTA. And finally, in the Southern Africa region, Padenga Holdings, listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, reporting gold production up 1.6% to about 620 kilograms of gold in the first quarter ended March. Nile crocodile skins production was up a whopping 254%. The company reported over the weekend. And finally, in North Africa, Talat Mustafa Group of Egypt says he's doing about 1.5 billion deal with Oman. That's the Omani Real money, by the way, in real estate and tourism in Egypt. It's a deal across the desert into Egypt. Egypt also reporting discovery of oil and gas reserves and planning a $10 million pipeline extension to raise the level of hydrocarbon activities in the country. In the UAE and Morocco said they have a partnership in place, $13 million landmark energy and water sustainability deal for Morocco. And the AIB, as well as MSMED of Egypt, said they've done about 150 million Egyptian pounds agreement to boost small and medium enterprises industrial sector for Egypt, the biggest economy north of the continent. And the Islamic Bank for Development, IsDB's annual meetings taking place in Algiers, the political capital of Algeria. The announcement came yesterday from IsDB that $3 billion is on the table for projects in Algeria over the next 3 years. And those are your headlines for today on Frontier Opening Bell.